Good morning and welcome to AARP Missouri's Fitness Series, Moving It. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I did. Ate lots of turkey and still eating turkey. So I'm Sandy and I'm a volunteer with AARP to help you kick off our fitness programming. Now, Moving It has three programs. Today, Tai Chi, and it will be delivered by the Jewish Community Center instructors on Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. Forever Fit, which has been developed and will be delivered by the Jewish Community Center of St. Louis. And this program takes place every Monday at 10:30. Our final program, Moving with Val, will be on Wednesday evenings at 6 o'clock p.m. on AARP Missouri Facebook and the YouTube channel. Now, the fitness series is open to anyone, anywhere, so tell your family and friends. Moving It is a part of our overall program, The Good Life with AARP, which provides you with tips, ideas, and experiences to help you live your best life. I encourage you to check out other programs by going to aarp.org/Missouri. Okay, if everybody is ready, Shelley, we're ready to start.
Okay. So in case there's anyone joining us for the first time, there are several different Tai Chi forms. Actually, there are a lot, but there are 3 or 4 main ones. So if someone asks you what kind of Tai Chi you're doing or what you're doing, what we're doing is called, the form that we are doing is called the Tai Chi Fundamentals, TCF. And it was created by Trisha Yu, YU. And it was modified form from the Yang style short form, more specifically, Yang style short form as taught by Professor Chen Man Ching. If anybody wants more like general kind of information about that sort of thing, just message me in chat and I'll make sure to pull some things together, for the next class so that I'm ready with, some short information for you about it, books and that kind of thing. What we are working on, Tai Chi is originally a martial art and does not depend on strength. It depends on sensitivity and timing. And that's why it's such a healthy practice. So while we're moving, right, we're moving slowly and purposefully, and we're always working on 4 basic principles of movement and a 5th one that is particular to this style. So the 4 basic principles of movement are relax, and that's a total and deep relaxation where the mind and the body are both relaxed. There's no tension, so they can work well together, seamlessly, if you will. So we need to be able to be relaxed while we're doing things and while we're thinking. And so we want to stay relaxed. We want to keep our body upright. We want this nice vertical alignment. Where are my teaching tools? Here we go. So as though this were your spine. Upright without being rigid. Okay, so we have the idea of the head floating upward and the tailbone having some weight. All right, and we're going to go through all these things in the basic movement patterns before we actually do our form work. So we have relax, we have body upright, separating the weight. Okay, that's shifting the weight while we're staying relaxed and keeping the body upright, moving from the center down here. Waist is the commander. Okay, the waist turn causes the hands and the feet to change. And by keeping the knees and hips bent, the center of gravity stays down here. So your balance, that's one of the things that's really important to the balance benefit of Tai Chi, not only being relaxed and aware, but keeping your center of gravity kind of low and having space between your feet. So you don't want space between your teeth. So standing like this is not necessarily good. Standing like this, not so good. That creates a lot of tension in the back, like right in here, right? Like that, and I people in the grocery store pushing their carts along like this, not good, not good. So you want that body upright. Relax, body upright, separate the weight, waist is the commander. Those principles of movement will benefit anything that you do, no matter what activity, whether it's an athletic activity or sweeping the floor. And then particular to this style, which I'll talk about as we go through our movements, is what's called Lady's Beautiful Hand or beautiful lady's wrists. What that means is the wrist is open. Okay, in Tai Chi, part of being relaxed is we don't want any tension in any of the joints. Martially speaking, if there's tension in the joint, it's vulnerable to breakage, it's rigid, but also it allows the chi to flow. Okay, so the joints stay open so the chi flows and fills the body, and that's what keeps the whole body relaxed and responsive. So, and I'll talk about this again because this is pretty important once we're moving, is that it's though there's a direct line from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger. This is being held and the arm is relaxed away from it. Again, we want to be straight without being rigid, an absence of tension. All right, let's get going with our warm-ups. So we're going to start with a basic foot position called point. So our feet are in a very small V. I think you can see my feet. So my feet are like this. And while we're in point, we're just relaxing and settling, okay? So you want to stay here for a moment. Let the tip of your tongue very gently touch the roof of your mouth. The tongue is slightly curled. And again, remember that the head is floating upward, easing upward towards the heavens, and the feet are relaxed. Imagine that the bottom of the foot is open. This area of the bottom of the foot is called the Yung Chuan, or the bubbling well, and that allows a connection deep into the earth. There's a bit of Taoist and Confucian philosophy in Tai Chi, and they believe that the human body is the bridge or the connection point between heaven and earth. And so we connect to the heavens, to the top of the head, we connect to the earth through the bubbling well. And just stay here for a few moments, relaxed. Let your knees be relaxed with no tension in the knees. You don't want to bend the knees. You just don't want them locked. So you could just lock them. You know, if you lock your knees, you feel what happens to your lower back here. Just unlock them. And this is point. And just relax the belly and relax the back. Now when I'm facing you, I'm going to be doing the mirror image. And I will periodically turn around and we'll face the same direction. So we begin by bending the knees and the hips, sinking the weight into the right foot. We're going to move the left foot. So we're going to pick up the left foot, set it out about a hip width distance with the toes pointed straight ahead. Go ahead and look and make sure the heels are lined up. And then as we shift into the left foot, let your hips line up with the right foot. Turn to the front, pivoting on the center of the heel of the right foot, shift to the middle, and as you rise, don't lock the knees, and just place the hands gently on the lower abdomen. Don't let the elbows collapse on the body. Body's alive now, okay? We're very conscious and fully present. Look at your feet. Very important that the toes are pointed straight ahead because that keeps the SI joints and the hips all neutral through here. Again, chi can flow, body's lined up so you get good weight transfer. And just spend a few moments here. This is the first basic movement pattern, part 1. And it's just called relaxed breathing. Again, let the tip of your tongue very gently touch the roof of your mouth. Head is easing upward, suspended by the head top, and the feet are rooted to the earth. And just relax the breath. Allow your attention to be more internal, more internally focused. And for those of you who are seated or want to be able to do some of these things seated, I like sitting on the corner of a chair without armrests and body upright, right? Spine suspended, hands here, feet hip width distance. So for the average adult, it's 6 to 8 inches of space. You want the knees lined up with the hips. If you're seated, knees lined up with the hips, ankles under the knees, toes pointed straight ahead, body upright without being rigid. On a chair, you kind of need to find that spot that allows you to have the lower back open so you don't feel tension back here. And the head is floating up. And this is that basic movement pattern. Just relax. So you could do a seated meditation, or it's kind of a standing meditation. Okay, so the next movement is called heavy arms or arm swinging. Without changing your rhythm of breathing, let your arms hang by your sides. Slowly begin swinging the arms from the shoulders. So I want you to make sure, I'm going to turn sideways so I can demonstrate a little better. So we don't want this, where the elbows just bend like this, because then my upper arm, there's not much movement there. We want a little movement from the shoulder. It's though the arm is like a swing on a swing set. Fingers are relaxed, head's easing upward, toes relaxed. You never want to feel like you're gripping the floor with your toes. So in the Tai Chi fundamentals, we talk about the three heavies. The knees feel heavy, they're not locked. Allow the tailbone to feel heavy and the elbows to feel heavy. Heavy elbows keeps the neck, shoulders, jaw relaxed. The three lights are the top of the head, easing upward, your eyes, your gaze is light. I know you're looking at the screen, but in general, your gaze is outward toward the horizon, and your hands are light. Be aware of your fingertips and thumb tips, top of the head, bottoms of the feet. Okay, now slowly let your arms come to rest. And again, you can do that easily seated. This next one's hard to do seated because you're already seated. We're going to be bending the knees and hips. So this exercise is called crane takes flight. Okay, we're going to do the leg portion first. So placing a hand on the lower abdomen and a hand, the other hand opposite it. Again, I turn sideways just for a better way to demonstrate. This allows you to feel the angle. So here, if you've got your hands here and you lock your knees, you can feel that change. And so we're just going to be bending the knees and hips a little bit. None of these exercises are range of motion. They're all coordination. And what you want to be feeling, again, the breath is relaxed. There's no tension in the stomach. And you want to feel that as you bend the knees and hips, your energy is releasing deep into the earth. And the hands here just help you, just give you some feedback. If it's uncomfortable to have a hand behind and a hand in front, that's fine. You don't have to do it. You can also do this exercise with a little bit of support, front support. And I'll talk about that a little bit. So my body's upright. I'm just lowering an inch, maybe two. Very slowly. We do things slowly so that we can maintain a relaxed feeling and also a full awareness. Tai Chi, we are very, very focused on the present or side assist, if you like. Okay? What the arms do in this one, palms facing each other, and feet parallel, hip width distance, so the ankles, knees, and hip joints are lined up, even though no one's legs are perfectly straight. We can imagine that they are. And we start by bending the knees and hips and breathing in as the wrists rise, the elbows feel heavy, and exhale as we sink. And inhale and exhale. Every movement in the form starts with this. We bend the knees and hips, and then the next one we'll do where we shift the weight. So you don't want the shoulders to rise. That's why if you have the feeling of the elbows being heavy and the fingertips light, so again, as if you're seated, you can't be raising and lowering, but you can sit in the chair, relax, and just do the arm movement, because this arm movement is very good for head, neck, and shoulders. Okay, this is called crane takes flight. The next one is called bear rooting. Palms face the floor. The whole forearm is parallel to the floor. You don't want to be reaching out, okay? Because you want to maintain that body upright and relaxed feeling. And we start out by bending the knees and hips. So the weight's 50-50 now. And I want you to bring your attention to the bottoms of your feet and have your tailbone feel relaxed and slowly sink the weight into the right foot. And then keeping the knees bent and the knees pointed straight ahead, slowly sink into the center of the left foot. So we're just shifting the weight, and pay attention to the bottoms of the feet, how they feel as one foot fills and the other one empties. You don't have to go 100%, as long as there's an exchange of weight, really working the quads here and getting some flexibility in the hip joints and moving while you're relaxed, or learning how to move and staying relaxed. Okay, this again, very good one to do with front assist. I do this in the kitchen, actually a lot. I rest my fingertips on the kitchen counter. It helps me be a little more relaxed. And my fingers are so light that they just slide along the surface. But you can see, if you look at my shoulders, you can see my shoulders remain level and parallel with the floor. So what we want to avoid, we don't want this. We don't want to be sending the hips out, right? And we don't want to shift the weight by leaning, because if you really pay attention to the bottoms of the feet, the weight shifts to the inside and the outside of the feet. And what you want internally is releasing into the center of the earth, releasing down. And the tailbone feels heavy and the head is easing upward. And I always like to use my slinky, my precious slinky, as a way to demonstrate what's happening. Because with a slinky, you can really feel that weight exchange, all right? Knees pointed straight ahead like you've got two headlamps there. And when you're seated, you can also do this. You sit on the very front of the chair, as I've said before, because that way you actually have weight on your feet. And just internally, it's a little more challenging in a way when you're seated, because it's a very subtle shift in the sits bone on the chair. So when I shift into my right sits bone, I can pick my left foot off the floor. And then I slowly shift inside here. Okay, so you can see my upper body is still and light, head easing upward, shoulders, hips parallel with one another. And internally, I'm shifting to release one foot. Okay, that's called bare rooting. That's separating the weight. That's the principle we're working on there. So relax, body upright, separate the weight. Next one is waist is the commander. From this same neutral position, once we're in this position where the feet are 50-50 or hip width distance, that stance is called a neutral stance, a horse stance, a Wuchi posture. From here, we're going to do the leg portion first. It's called stable and open. So we're going to bend the knees and hips, shift into the right foot. So the right foot is flat, relaxed, the right hip joint is not jutting out. And then we're going to turn from here. Think of this whole area as like a wheel. You're going to turn it just a little bit to the left, turning the left toes out as though you're pointed towards 11 on the face of a clock. Use the waist turn to bring the feet parallel again. And then release down into the left foot, turning to the right, turning the toes out a little bit. So we shift the weight first, and then we turn the waist. The waist turn causes the foot to move. You're pivoting, and again, this is very important. The details are really important in Tai Chi. You're pivoting from the center of the heel, okay? Here's the straight line of the foot, and you shift the weight and you turn out a little bit and back, and then the other foot, you shift into this foot and turn the other one out, and the waist is here. Okay, stable and open is the leg portion. What the arms do is called gathering the stars. So this is the posture. So there's space here, not too forward. You don't want to create tension or bring the shoulders forward. You want the shoulders above the hips. And what the arms do is very simple. We inhale as the arms open. Again, not a range of motion. Don't open them all the way. And then exhale. You can see I don't bring my hands back here because that creates lots of tension in the upper back. So you breathe in as the arms open and exhale as they close. And the head is easing upward and the feet are relaxed. Okay, now we're going to put it together. So we bend the knees and hips, shift the weight down into the right foot. The elbows feel heavy without hanging, so they're just floating on water. You turn the waist to the left, turn the left toes out a little bit and the arms open, and then turn to the front, pivoting on the heel, the feet become parallel again and the arms close. Then we shift down into the left foot, turn to the right, breathing in as the arms open, exhaling as they close. Shift the weight first and then turn the waist. The waist turn causes the hands and the feet to change. This is your center. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And now I'll turn around. And when the weight's on the left, we turn slightly to the right, turning the toes out and coming back. Shift the weight, top of the head easing upward, toes and feet relaxed, belly relaxed, breath relaxed. And this is called stable and open, which is the leg portion, while gathering the stars. Elbows feel heavy, head top suspended. And inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more on the left side, turning to the left, and come back to center. I'll have a quick look here. Does anyone have any questions? I just want to check. There are no questions in chat. We'll just keep going. Okay. So the last basic movement pattern in part 1, we changed the foot position. So far we've been in this 50-50 posture, this Wu Chi stance. We were in point very briefly, only at the beginning of the form and at the end of the form, same with the exercises. I just mirrored that. And then through most of the exercises in part 1, where the feet are in this stance. In the form, the feet are not very often in this stance. The dominant foot position, and I'm going to adjust the screen so you can see a little better. The dominant foot position is 70-30. What that means is we're going to change, and I'll talk you through all this. So remember I talked about how important it is to keep the distance between the feet. Imagine that my heels are on railroad tracks, right? So I turn one foot out to the diagonal. I'm going to shift all my weight in it face front, and I'm going to take a step with the other foot. And I've maintained, if you look at the screen, you see I've maintained the distance between my feet. I did not come in, because then you're wobbly. You don't have good balance. So we're going to work on this stance, the left side and the right side. And when we shift most of the weight into the front foot, ideally 70%, that's why it's called a 70-30 posture. Okay? And again, this can be done seated, as could the last one, right? Shifting into the sits bone, breathing in as we turn out. Again, very small movement. These are coordination movements. Nice and slow so that your mind has time to adjust, to be aware of all the subtle changes taking place. So you can make sure your belly's still relaxed. You can make sure your body's still upright. Okay. So the last basic movement pattern is called bear walking. And okay, I'll be right there. I'm just changing my screen a little bit. Okay, so we've got the hip width distance between the feet. Start out here, again, the knees are not locked. And we bend the knees and hips, shifting down into the right foot. So the hips stay level. When we shift down, we don't alter the hips, right? Hips are parallel with the floor. On the right foot, turn the hips to the left slightly, turning the left toes out just a little bit. And then you want to shift all the weight into that foot and face front. Hips, knees parallel. Keep the weight on the left foot and take a short step out. We want to take an empty step. We don't want to commit. It's not like when you're walking where you automatically put weight in it, because we often end up leaning. So relaxed here. Take a short step as long as the foot's empty. We're facing front. And again, here I like to have one hand in front and back just to help me be aware of what I'm doing. And I bend the knees and hips and I sink most of my weight into the front foot. The rear hip joint is bent. And then I shift most of my weight into the rear foot. So we're having an exchange of weight. It's the same movement as this. We're just shifting the weight, only the feet are in a different position. Right? And I'm going to turn sideways briefly so you can see what's happening here. So as I shift into the front foot, I have to relax my right hip joint. I have to drop into the front foot, right? It's that slinky. And when I drop into the rear foot, the front hip joint has to be bent. And that's how I keep my body upright. Tailbone's pointed down, body's upright, okay? And the arm movement here, I should get you on the side. As we sink into the front foot, we breathe in, the wrists just rise. And then as we sink into the rear foot, the elbows are heavy and come back. It's very important to keep the body upright. So you want to pay attention to the feet, that they feel flat, and that you're releasing down into the earth through the center of the bottom of the foot. So we inhale as the wrists rise. Don't think forward and back. Think rear foot, front foot, and the wrists just rise. What we want to avoid this. We want to avoid this rocking and rolling because the weight shifts to the rear foot, to the heels, to the balls of the feet. So when you're forward, it's because your rear hip joint isn't bent. When you lean back, it's because the front hip joint isn't bent. So that's really important there, okay? So we'll do a couple more this side. And I'm going to turn around. Now keep all the weight on the left foot. Pick up the right foot, bring it straight back. Shift into the right, let your hips line up with the left. Turn the waist. So we're back to that basic stance. Now we're going to do the other side. So bend the knees and hips, shift into the left, turn to the right toes out a little bit, all the way into the right foot, step straight out with the left foot, bend the knees and hips, sink into the left foot. As you breathe in, the wrists rise. As you exhale, elbows heavy. And inhale and exhale. And both feet are flat, and the toes are relaxed, and the head is easing upward. And the tailbone is heavy, spine floating. No tension in the stomach, no tension in the back. And then the next time you're on the rear foot, stay there. Pick up the front foot, bring it back so the heels line up. Shift into the left foot, let your hips line up with the right foot. Use the waist turn, and we're back to this Wu Chi stance. Now to end and go back to point, we bend the knees and hips, shift into the left foot, turn to the right toes out a little bit, all the way into the right foot, pick up the left foot, bring it in. We're back at point. Okay, so we'll take a short break, maybe grab a drink of water, and I'll demonstrate again when you're seated how to do these exercises. Change the screen briefly. Okay, so got my hip width distance, see my knees pointed straight ahead, into the sits bone, turning the waist, turning the toes out just a little bit. I face front and I take a very short step because I want to keep my body upright. And then remember, when we're seated and we shift the weight, we hinge from the hips just a little bit, but you can feel that does create a weight exchange in the feet. Just this little bit brings weight into the front foot, and then it's mostly in the rear foot. So if this is your tailbone, this is the top of the head, it's just this. That small movement causes the weight shift or allows for the weight shift. So sideways, body upright. And so the weight shift is just hinging a little bit at the hips, feeling the weight exchange in the feet, and then coming back up. So we would inhale and exhale. Excuse me, very important not to lean with the chin. Okay? You want the spine open and floating. And then you just change sides like we do when we're standing. And breathing in and out. And inhale and exhale. Okay. So these basic movement patterns as new beginners is really the most important part for you. I mean, it's great that this class is recorded so you can review it all. That's really nice to be able to do because it's a lot of information, right? A lot. Remember, what the legs and feet are doing is more important than the arms. All right. I want to just quickly check the time. And great. And then get a drink of water. Now we'll do our form work. So as I say, these basic movement patterns are good for the, we're building a Tai Chi vocabulary. You're building a body vocabulary and a conceptual vocabulary. So when I say bend the knees and hips and shift the weight, you know what I'm talking about. I don't have to keep saying keep the body upright, keep the hips relaxed, because we're working on those basics in the basic movement patterns. All right, so we're going to do our form work. And I'll start out facing you, and then I'll turn around, and I'll guide you through the arm positions, okay? Generally speaking, when I say form the ball or hold the ball, the top hand is across from the center of the sternum, about a hand distance from the body. The bottom hand is below the navel, across from what the Chinese call the Tantian. And the palms face each other. Notice that I'm not like this. In order for my hands to be parallel to one another, I have to be up here. but I'm not holding the ball with a cupped hand, right? We have that lady's nice wrist, the open wrist. So the palms are opposite one another, but the hands don't have to face each other, right? So if you're just holding something, right, the palms are just opposite one another on the center line, okay? All right now, so from point, feet are in that small V. We just take a moment or two to relax and settle. Allow our attention to be more internal, more internally focused and aware. We'll do an internal scan, if you will. The feet are relaxed, fully adhering to the floor, allowing a connection deep into the earth through the bubbling well, the center of the bottom of the foot. Allow your knees to feel heavy, your tailbone to feel heavy, and your elbows to feel heavy. Head feels light, eyes are light, and hands are light. And begin. We bend the knees and hips, shifting all the weight into the right foot. We're going to step out with the left foot to get our hip width distance. The toes point straight ahead, and you go ahead and look. And then sinking into the left foot, let your hips line up with the right foot. Turn to the front, pivoting on the center of the heel, shift to the middle. And as you rise, the arms are going to go into what we call the Wu Chi position. So in point, the arms were like this. In Wu Chi, the arms move a little bit away from the body. The palms turn, face the back of the room. And then the fingers and wrists are open, and then we bend the elbows slightly. This is what it looks like from the side. The upper body is roughly even. You went from here to here, small bend in the elbow, wrists and fingers open and straight. Preparation, the wrists change 5 times without tension. So knees are heavy, breathing in as the wrists rise. Let your elbows feel heavy. 2, the palms face the floor. So the wrists change here as though the palms are just floating on water. 3, the wrists slide towards the shoulders. The elbows feel heavy, but the hands don't lower. The wrists come towards the shoulders and relax like a puppy begging. That's the 3rd time the wrists change. The 4th time, elbows are sinking, the wrists are sinking, the fingers are floating up. 4th time, 5th time, we're back to Wu Chi. We're going to do that once more, only I'm going to turn sideways so you can see. And 1, the wrists rise, elbows feel heavy, the wrists are shoulder high and shoulder width. 2, the palms face the floor. 3, the wrists slide towards the shoulders, relax. 4, the elbows sink, wrists sink, fingers float up. Then we're back to the Wu Chi position. Okay, and ward off left side. Bend the knees and hips, shift the weight into the left foot. Turn to the right a little bit, turn the toes out, and form the ball. The right hand's on top when you turn to the right side. Now, all the weight goes into the right foot, and your hips are still lined up with that right foot. You haven't turned the waist yet. You can look to take your step because you want to properly position the front foot. Foot's flat, knees pointed straight ahead, and then you bend the knees and hips and sink into the center of the left foot. Most of the weight's in the left leg. Keep it there. Turn to the front, change the hands. The left hand comes up along your center line, turns and faces the center of the sternum. Right hand goes down the center line into the Wu Chi position. This is called ward off left side. Left arm's a ward off arm. Hand is protecting heart and lungs. Now, we bend the knees and hips as we shift into the rear foot, the right hand comes up. As we shift back into our 70-30, the right hand comes to the inside of the left hand. And this is called press. I'm going to turn sideways briefly so you can see what that looks like. Weights in the front leg, slight angle, center of the palms across from the center of the sternum. The left palm is facing you. Turn the left hand down and back up. Okay, the right hand wipes off the back of the left and the hands separate. The fingertips are about the same height as the shoulders. Now, as you bend the knees and hips and drop into the rear foot, the elbows feel heavy, bringing the hands towards the shoulders. Don't lower the hands. And then when we release the push, as we shift back into the 70-30, 70% of the weight on the front foot, and we're in push. So you can see my hands are roughly in front of my shoulders. You know, if you were moving a heavy object or a big chair or something, you'd move it like that to get your weight behind it. Same here. Okay. Now, shift all the weight into the right foot, bring the left foot back. We're going to go back to point, and I'm going to turn around. We're going to repeat that first half of the first third. So from point, feet are in a small V. We're going to take the time here to relax and settle. Focus is a little more internal. Be aware of your rhythm of breathing. Belly soft and relaxed. Knees, tailbone, elbows heavy. Head, eyes, fingertips light. And begin bending the knees and hips, sinking all the weight into the right foot. Step out with the left foot, the toes point straight ahead. Hip width distance, and as you shift into the left foot, the hips line up with the right foot. Weight's on the left leg now. Keep it on the left foot. Turn to the front, pivoting on the center of the right foot. The feet are parallel. Now shift to the middle. And as you rise, the arms move away from the body slightly. Fingers straighten. Elbows bend just a little bit. Now check your feet. Adjust them if you didn't get it quite right. And we'll spend a moment in Wu Chi. This posture is called the Wu Chi position. Make sure the stomach is relaxed. Have the feeling that your head is suspended and the tailbone's heavy. And preparation, breathing in as the wrists rise, and then just breathing naturally. Wrists shoulder high, shoulder width. Then the palms face the floor. The wrists slide towards the shoulders, relax. Elbows, wrists sink. Fingers float up a little bit like they're moving through water. Back to Wu Chi. Water off left side. Bend the knees and hips, sinking the weight into the left foot. Turn to the right toes out a little bit, hold the ball, right hand's on top. All the way into the right foot. Keep your hips lined up with the right foot, but look if you need to take that step. Remember, it's an empty step, don't commit yet. Now we're purposefully and mindfully sinking the weight. Now we shift the weight down into the center of the left foot, both hips parallel with the floor. Most of the weight's on the left leg, right foot's flat. Turn the waist. Now we change the hands. The left hand comes up, left palm facing the sternum, right arm in the Wu Chi position. This is ward off left side. Now as we sink into the right foot, the right hand comes up. As we shift into the left foot, the right hand comes to the inside of the left. This is press. Very little pressure between the hands. No pressure there. Left hand turns down and up. Right hand wipes off the back. The hands separate. Release down into the rear foot, bringing the hands towards the shoulders. And then relax the belly and release the push. Hands going out. Okay, shift into the right foot, bring the left foot back. Walk around a little bit. I'll check and see if there are any questions. Okay, great. And see how much time we have. Oh, lots of time. Great. So we're going to repeat this section, and then I'll add the mirror image. So in this first part that we've done, we're doing what's called the left side, because we, from point, we shift into the left, we shift into the right, step out with the left. We're in the Wu Chi position. This is called preparation. And then we shift into the left, turn to the right. And the whole time, the left arm is the ward-off arm. Most of the weight's on the left leg and the left arm is in front. So it's called ward-off left side. And with the press, the left arm is still out there. And then we have push. When we change sides, we're going to turn to the left. When we turn to the left hand's on top. At the beginning of the form, when we turn to the right hand was on top. Okay. And so I'll talk you through all of that. I'll do it. We'll do it together. I'll do it once facing you, and then we'll turn around and do that whole first section. So that's part one of the form. The first section of the form is divided into 3 parts, and of course that parallels the basic movement patterns that we did. All right, so we'll start from point. I'll do my best to do the mirror image. Sometimes I get a little confused. Okay, take a moment to settle while you're in point. Head suspended, tailbone heavy. Belly relaxed, no tension in the stomach. Feet relaxed. And begin bending the knees and hips all the way into the right foot. Step out with the left foot, toes point straight ahead. Shift into the left. Turn to the right, and then turn to the front, pivoting on the center of the right foot, shift to the middle, rise into the Wu Chi position. And then preparation. 1, rise, and the palms face the floor. Slide towards the shoulders and relax. 4, the wrists sink. 5, we're back to Uchi position. Now, going into ward off left side, bend the knees and hips, shift into the left, turn to the right toes up a little bit, forming the ball, right hand's on top, is around the center line, bottom hand is below the navel. Step out with the left foot, shift into the center of the left foot, turn the waist, change hands. Right hand goes down, up, back, press, into the rear foot, and then release the push. Go ahead and stay in push for a moment. I'm going to make sure everyone's muted because I'm hearing some background noise. Okay, and just keep the breath relaxed, just like when you're holding Uchi, right? So we're in push. Now we're going to bend the knees and hips, shift into the right foot. Turn to the left, turn the left toes out a little bit, and form the ball with the left hand on top. We're going to change sides. This is our transition posture. So now all the way down into the left foot. Keep your hips lined up with the left foot, step with the right foot. Now again, look at your feet. Make sure you didn't come in too narrow. You want to keep that distance between the feet. Hips are lined up with the left foot. Now bend the knees and hips, dropping the weight into the center of the right foot. Most of the weight's in the right foot. Turn the waist, change the hands. Right palm rises, left palm. So now we're in ward off right side. Right leg is the front leg, right arm's the ward off arm. Sink into the rear foot, hand comes up, shift the weight into the front foot, into the center, into the earth, into press. Palm facing you, turns down and up. Left hand wipes off the right, shift the weight down into the rear foot, and release the push. Now all the weight into the right foot, step back up with the left foot. We're going to go back to Uchi, shift to the middle, and as you rise, the arms open into the Uchi position. And from here, we would continue the form, but today we're going to close here. So we bend the knees and hips, shift into the left foot, turn to the right, turn the right toes out a little bit, all the way into the right foot, pick up the left foot, bring it in, and we're back to point. And hopefully we have time to do that once more. It'll be a quick one, okay? So from point, relax the belly and begin. Bend the knees and hips all the way into the right foot. Step out with the left foot toes straight. Shift the weight, hips line up with the right foot. Turn to the front, pivoting on the center of the right heel. Shift to the middle, rise into the Uchi position, changing the arms, adjust your feet as needed. Preparation, breathing in, the wrists rise, then breathing naturally. 2, the palms face the floor. 3, the wrists slide towards the shoulders, relax. 4, the wrists sink, fingers float up. 5, we're back to the Uchi position. Ward off left side, shift into the left, turn to the right toes out, hold the ball, right hands on top when you turn to the right. All the weights in the right foot, step with the left foot, shift the weight, turn the waist, change the hands. Left hand rises, right hand drops. This is ward off left side. Shift into the right hand comes up. Shift into the left, right hand to the inside of the left. Left hand down and out, the hands separate. Shift the weight. And shift again, releasing the push. Now shift down into the right foot. The hands come towards the shoulders. Turn to the left toes out. Hold the ball, left hand's on top. All the way into the left foot. Step with the right foot, toes straight. Shift down into the center of the right foot. Keep the weight on the right leg. Turn the waist. Now the right hand comes up across from the sternum. The left hand is in Uchi. This is ward off right side. Shift into the left. Left hand comes up. Shift into the right. Right hand comes to the inside of the left. Left hand comes to the inside of the right. Right palm is facing you. Right hand turns down and up. Left hand wipes off the back of the right. Shift down into the rear foot. Release the push. All the way into the right foot. Step up with the left. We're going to go back to Wu Chi. Stay in Wu Chi briefly, just to relax here and settle here. Give the breath a chance to settle. My heart rate slowing down, feet relaxed. I'm aware of the top of my head, bottoms of my feet, fingertips and thumb tips. And then to close, we bend the knees and hips, shift into the left foot, turn to the right, turn those right toes out, all the way down into the center of the right foot. Pick up the left foot, bring it in, and as you rise, the arms relax and you're back at point. Okay, thank you. We should stop there.